Today I'll be showing you guys how to solve the Rubik's Cube. So, I'm finally making a tutorial on how to solve Rubik's Cube. This is a beginner method tutorial, so I'll be going over things that are commonly known in the community. So if you already know how to solve Rubik's Cube, this video will not help you in any way, shape, or form. This is only a video to help anyone who has never solved a Rubik's Cube or has solved one in the past and doesn't remember the method. So, before I begin with any movements, I want to go over the piece types. So, on a Rubik's Cube, you have centerpieces that don't move at all, regardless of how you move the puzzle. Even if you move it like this center will still be next to white, blue, and green. So, of course, centerpieces are commonly known, and the next two pieces are the edge pieces and the corner pieces. So first, the edge pieces. The edge pieces go between a certain type of center. So this one would go between red and white. As you can see, these cannot be separated. They are bonded together. So regardless of how you move the puzzle, these will always stay together. Next up is the corner pieces. So like the edge pieces, these are bonded together and go between three different centers. So this one would go between the red, blue, and white centers and cannot go between anything else. Regardless of how you move the puzzle, these will always stay together. Next up, I'd like to talk about any impossible positions the Rubik's Cube can be in. So, there is such thing as impossible positions, meaning that a corner is twisted or an edge is flipped. The only way to fix this is by manually taking the cube apart and twisting or flipping the piece. For example, on this puzzle, you can see that there is only one corner that is actually flipped. It is twisted and everything else in the cube is solved. The only way to solve this is by manually twisting the cube. You cannot solve this without manually twisting the corner. Another example would be this edge. This edge is flipped when everything else in the cube is solved. This is also an impossible position, meaning that your puzzle either broke apart while you were trying to solve it and you put it back together, or someone messed with you and twisted it themselves. The only way to flip this is by turning your cube by 45 degrees and manually taking the piece out, flipping it, and just putting it back in. And that's how you solve impossible positions. Next up, I want to go over notation. Notation is a very important part of solving a Rubik's Cube, but it is not absolutely necessary, as you can just follow along with the video, but later on and down your road, it will come in handy to know notation in case you want to do a pattern or learn an algorithm. So, first is the right move. So, this would be R, as in right. So, R and R prime is R counterclockwise. So, this piece is moving clockwise or counterclockwise. So, R and R prime. Next up is L. This would be L. Hence, in this case, going downward is moving clockwise. L prime would be L going upward. Next, I would go over the U phase. U and U prime. So U goes in a clockwise manner. U prime will be the opposite. D and D prime. So in this case, D goes clockwise, D prime goes the opposite direction. Last but not least, so F, F prime. So whatever face is facing you will be F, then F prime. These are the notations of the Rubik's Cube, and therefore these will be necessary when learning from this tutorial. Okay, last but not least, before I begin this tutorial, I'll be going over the steps you will require to solve the Rubik's Cube. So, when solving the Rubik's Cube, you've probably seen easy method or a tutorial where like solve it with 2 moves, something like this. The thing is, if you try doing that, realize that this whole section of the Rubik's Cube is not being touched whatsoever. So if you try that method, if this is not solved, chances are you will most likely not solve the Rubik's Cube with only 2 moves. In fact, it is impossible to solve it with just 2 moves. In this tutorial, I will teach you an actual legit method of solving the Rubik's Cube without any fail. So in this tutorial, you'll begin by doing a daisy. From the daisy, you will solve the pieces into a cross. Once you have the white cross, you move on to doing your first layer, where the bottom portion of the Rubik's Cube is completely solved. From the first layer, we'll move on to the second layer. And once you have the second layer, you will solve the yellow cross. Afterwards, you will solve the orientation permutation of each edge. Make sure they're lining up with their correct center. And from there, you'll do the same with the corners. You'll get the corners in the correct spot. And then from there, you'll just solve the cube as such. Those are the steps we'll be taking, 8 in total, to solve the Rubik's Cube. Alright, so now that we have all the introduction and explanation done, we can finally move on to the actual solving. So, chances are, now that you have your cube with you, it's probably already scrambled up. And if it is, well, then I'll just randomly scramble mine. So just know that with this tutorial, you will see this cube solved again. So here we are. We'll begin with making the daisy. We already have one edge done. We will ignore the corners for now. And in this case, you have this one that's flipped over. The best thing you can do is move it over by 1 by an F, and then move it up. Now, this one has the exact same situation, but if you do FR, you will kick this one out of the way. So in this case, you will not want to do that. You'll do an F, you'll do U prime, then you'll do an R. And last but not least, you have this one on the bottom. In this case, you'll do the same thing, put it on top of where it wants to go, do an F, but this time you'll do U, L prime. All right, let's go through another example of those. Again, I'll scramble the cube randomly so that we have a different daisy solution. So again, we have one edge done. This one is in an unfavorable position, but there's 2 of them in unfavorable positions. So in this case, do an F. These 2 are now in favorable positions because you could just move them both up into this top layer. This one is also in a favorable position because you can just rotate, put it next to the piece where it belongs. And there you go. That's how you complete that daisy. I'll go through another example. Again, randomly scrambling the cube. All right, this time we have no daisy pieces. So, best thing you can do is look on the opposite side, see if anything is already done on the cross color. There is a blue one there, an orange one here, and a green one here. So best thing you can do is move the orange one up to the top layer. So L prime, this one wants to go up here. So instead of moving this and kicking the orange out of the way, you will move this top layer over by U, do another L prime. Again, the green wants to go up here, but it doesn't want to kick out the blue. So in this case, just move the top layer by U. There you go. Again, you have an unfavorable piece. In this case, just we'd do an F, U, L prime. And that's how you complete your yellow daisy, or your white daisy on the yellow side. I'll go through one more example before this video ends. Okay, so in this final example, I still have one on the top layer. Red has nothing on top of it, so the red and white one will just go over here on the other side. But the green and white, on the other hand, has this blue one up on top. So this white one cannot go up here because it will kick out the blue white one. So in this case, just do U and move it up to the top layer with an R. The last one is on the bottom layer. So in this case, just make sure that this piece is not occupied with a white piece. And just do an L2. And that's how you will complete that daisy. So those are 4 different examples of how to solve your daisy. I hope that was helpful. And now we can continue on with the tutorial. All right, moving on, we will be going over how you go from the daisy to a white cross. So in this case, you will be looking at any individual white piece and whatever color coordinates with it. So in this case, it would be white and green. So look for the green center, pair it up, do an F2, rotate. Now you will be looking for the blue center, since it's white and blue. Look for the blue center, F2, rotate. Now you'll be looking for the red center, as this is white and red. Start searching, you find it, F2, rotate. And now, last but not least, it would be the orange one. Pair it up, F2. And that's how you get your white cross. Okay, so now that we finished our cross, we will keep this on the bottom for the rest of this tutorial. Remember, your cross will not move from the bottom. So if you find yourself starting to follow the tutorial and you see the cross in front of you or to your side, you are doing something wrong, and you should definitely put the cross on the bottom. So we'll continue to first layer. So you look for any corners on the top layer that are white. Anything at all. So this one has no white on it. This one has no white on it. This one has no white on it. This one has some white on it. So remember, if you see yellow on any corner, it immediately has no white on it. So don't even bother looking at the rest of the colors. This one is the only one on the top layer that has any white on it. So what you do is you put this on top of wherever the other two colors are. So this is white, red, and blue. This is the red and blue centers. Put it in between both these two colors. Put the white on your right hand. So if you're holding the cube like this, white should be touching your right hand. If it isn't, I'll explain it later. So with white touching your right hand, you'll do this algorithm. R, U, R prime, U prime. As you see, this kicked out this other corner that has white on it. Now, remember how I said if you're touching the right side, white should be touching your hand? Well, this is the case that I was talking about. There are times where you cannot get it to touch your right hand. Even if you do, it will not be the corner that you want it to be. So again, put the corner on top of where it wants to go. So in this case, green, red. Put it between the green and red centers. Now again, since you can't get it to touch your right hand, you'll do the opposite. Get it to touch your left hand. So if you're touching the left side of your cube, make sure white is touching your hand. In this case, you'll be doing a different algorithm. In this case, you'll be doing L prime, U prime, L, U. And now, last but not least, this is actually very coincidental, but you have the last case where the corner is facing the top layer. Same exact sequence happens. So you put it between the two colors it wants to go between. So this is orange and blue. So put it between the blue and orange centers. In this case, it doesn't matter if you do it to your left hand or your right hand. It won't touch either hand. So what you'll do is you'll do R, U2, R prime. Now bring it back between both the centers. Touch it with your right hand. Now you do R, U, R prime, U prime. Now this is the last corner, and it's just a standard case where you make sure it touches your right hand. R, U, R prime, U prime. And that's how you complete your first layer. If you need to go back for any reason throughout this tutorial, feel free to do so. So now we move on to the second layer. So now that you've completed your first layer, we can finally start focusing on these individual edges. So on the top layer, you'll find a mixture of anything that has yellow, and in this case, red. So yellow and a secondary color, or something that has no yellow. In this case, we'll be focusing on anything that has no yellow. So in this case, it'd be red and blue. So whatever is on the front face while you're looking at it, you'll find the corresponding center to that piece. In this case, it'd be blue. So you'll make a line of the right color and figure out if this wants to go to the left or to the right. Does it want to go to the left? No. So in this case, it wants to go to the right. So look at the top color. If it wants to go to the right, what you'll do here is push it away, lift the right layer upward, push it further away, right layer will go downward, and bring it back. Now this is between the two centers that it belongs to. Now remember when I made you guys touch the right side of the cube, and if it wasn't facing the right and it was facing towards you? Well, in this case, you'll be doing the exact same thing you did during that case. So make sure the corner is touching your left hand and is closest to you. Now you'll do L prime, U, L. So again, make sure it's touching your left hand and do L prime, U prime, L. Now, next piece, this one also wants to go to the right side. So again, push it away from where it wants to go, lift the right layer up, push it further away, right layer will go down, and bring that corner back. Now, grab it with your left hand, make sure it's on your left hand, touching your left finger closest to you. Now do L prime, U prime, L. Okay, now this corner has yellow, so this is not a corner we want to focus on. So rotate, find another corner that has no yellow. In this case, it would be orange and blue. So this one wants to go to the left. So for the first time, you will want to push it away from the left side. So push it away, left side goes upward, push further away, left side goes downward, bring it back. Now this time you'll grab it with your right hand, rotate, make sure it's touching your right index finger closest to you, and now do R, U, R prime. Now, before I show this case, I want to go over a situation like this, when it's flipped over. The best thing you can do is just pretend like one of these is the right piece. Push it away, bring the right up, push further away, bring it down, bring the right back. Grab it with your left index, L, U prime, or my bad, L prime, U prime, L. And now this is back on the top layer. So in this case, now it wants to go to the right. So push it away from where it wants to go, bring the right layer up, push it further away, bring the right layer down, bring it back, put your left index onto the white corner piece. Now do L prime, U prime, L prime, or L. Now, top layer solved, but that normally doesn't happen. I'll be going over that step in the next step. So, now that I accidentally skipped the last layer portion, the orientation, I will go over what shapes you could get. You can either get a line, a hook, or a dot. So, with other cubes, I will be explaining how you solve these cases. So if you have a line across the whole cube, you'll be using a 4 trigger. So if you guys remember, when doing first layer, you learned about the R, U, R prime, U prime. This will come in handy when solving these cases. So for each one of these cases, you will start with an F move. So regardless of what you have, make sure you line it up well. In this case, make sure it's going horizontal. Do an F, then do the 4 trigger. R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And that'll solve the yellow cross. Now, if you have a hook or a lowercase l, upside down lowercase l, you put it on top and left. In this case, again, start with an F. This time you will do the 4 trigger 2 times in a row. R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And now you have the yellow cross solved. Last but not least, you have a dot case. So you start the exact same way as you do with a hook. In this case, just F, 2 sexies in a row, R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And now you have a line. Make sure it's horizontal. Now do F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And that's how you get a yellow cross on top. Okay, the next step is to pair up these already oriented edges onto the right color. Now, by sheer absolute luck, I have already skipped that step. So I'll be explaining that step with one of these other cubes. So what you'll do is pair one of these up and see if its right counterpart is paired up as well. Orange and red are not adjacent to each other. They are opposite to each other. This would have to be blue. So let's try blue and orange. Nope. So last but not least, it would be green and red. So put red and green on your right. So red in front, green on your right. And do the following algorithm. R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R prime, U2, R, U prime. And that will keep all these edges on their corresponding center. Now, if you find that by pairing one of these up, the right and left just never correspond with each other, they're always opposite colors to each other, this means you have a case that can't be solved with that one algorithm. But you can just do the algorithm once, R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R prime, U2, R, U prime. And that'll get you a pair of 2. And now put the front and right right here, do R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R prime, U2, R, U prime. And that'll get all these corners permuted in the right location. Now we are moving on to the next step, where you find one corner that's in the right location. It doesn't have to be twisted correctly. Just know that it's between these two. And you'll be doing the following algorithm. Put it on your left hand, do R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L, U. And depending on what happens, normally they don't immediately go on to the right location. In this case, they did. Now, I'll show an example of one where you have none that are in the right location. So this one would have to be between green and red. It is not. This one, same thing, blue and red. Nope. This one has to be orange and blue. Nope. And this one would have to be orange and green. And yeah, in this case, just do the algorithm once. R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L, U. Now look around the cube one more time. You have this one. This is between red and green. Now do R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L, U. And now you have the corresponding edges done and corners. One more time. In this case, you have none that are in the right location. Do the algorithm once. R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L, U. Now you have this one. Do the algorithm again. Put it on your left-hand side. R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L, U. Okay, and that's how you get all the corners permuted in the right location. Okay, so we are finally on the last step. These two corners are twisted. And so what you will have to do is put a corner on your right hand. Make sure it's touching your right hand. And now you will do the following algorithm. R prime, D prime, R, D. R prime, D prime, R, D. Should get these headlights on the right. Put a yellow on top of this white piece and follow the algorithm again. R prime, D prime, R, D. R prime, D prime, R, D. R prime, D prime, R, D. R prime, D prime, R, D, and just adjust the top layer. And that's how you get the cube solved. I'll go over another case where you have a fish on top, or a fish looking shape. In this case, put a piece on your right hand, and if you can't do this, just do the same algorithm until it solves itself on the top layer. R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D. Put a yellow on top of this one. It won't go exactly on top, it'll be just like this. R prime, D prime, R, D. R prime, D prime, R, D. Then one more time, rotate. Again, just from here, R prime, D prime, R, D. R prime, D prime, R, D, and just do U2. And that's how you should get the top layer solved. I hope this tutorial was very helpful to you, and I hope you learned a lot. If you did, please drop a like button and consider subscribing, because this was my first time attempting this, and I hope I explained everything very well. Hope you guys were able to solve your cube. If you have any additional questions, please leave them down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer them. So, hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.